What's up, everyone? This is your host, Jose Marquez, and I want to welcome you to the Sunday BYOB podcast on YouTube. BYOB means bring your own Bible, and our goal is to make it come alive for you. We invite a wide range of guests to share their stories of triumph, joy, victory, and sorrow, and each episode is designed to talk about real issues with real people about a real God. We hope that you are curious, because if you are, you have tuned into the right place. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sunday BYOB podcast, and we're going to continue our series on the Enneagram. Today we have a very interesting topic, so I needed some very interesting guests. To my right, the lovely, the beautiful, the intellectual, the sexy, my lover, my friend, my wife, Anna Marquez.
I swear that has to be one of the best edifications I have heard thus far.
And to my left, the less sexy, the less...
Hey, listen, you putting me down like that, man.
a very, very, I don't want to say known guest, right? Because it's been a while since you've been with us, but he does so much of the work that we need to get this done. And someone that's truly gifted. He's been an inspiration to me, and he's taught me a lot of things, whether I told him so or not. But we have to the left of me, Raffi from the Cause and Effect podcast.
Thank you so much, man.
And today we'll be talking about the Enneagram Type 5, the Observer and the Investigator. When you just starting there, when you hear those two names that are used to describe the type 5, how does that make you feel? Which one do you relate to more, the Observer or the Investigator?
Both.
And how?
I can't choose. I can't choose either. Observer, because I'm an introvert by nature, but we are all introverted and extroverted. But we tend to lean more to one than the other. Mm-hmm. I tend to lean to the introvert. So I like to observe before when I go into a room. I say hi to everybody, but I like to observe what the vibe is, the energy is, and then I move accordingly. Investigator, I usually don't like to make a move before knowing the pros and cons in the pieces that plays a part into the decision that I gotta make.
It's so good.
So yeah, I can really.
It's funny because when Raffi said that he's a type 5, I was like, oh yeah. Definitely. Because you can tell from like the previous when we first met, we were doing cause and effect podcasts and stuff, and like you could tell that he always had the questions. He always was very analytical, always like both sides. We needs the pros and the cons. Yeah. Like I was like, oh man, obviously he's a type
and
5.
Mm.
Raffi was always the one helping me to rein Chico in when Chico went on his 4-ish type escapades during the podcast.
Because I know that
Raffi was always the one. Let's talk a little bit more about this. Let's talk about this. Right, and that's a common thing with a 5, and that's what I love about the Enneagram. That's what I hope that all of you guys are figuring out concerning the Enneagram, that we're not trying to box people in, right? We're trying to help people break through the box. Yeah. And we're trying to help people grow and realize that growth is a real possibility, right? Because there's so many people that probably hearing the podcast that are in our audience that they get frustrated. They get frustrated because growth is frustrating. If you're truly growing, there's plenty of times that you experience frustration or you're not really growing. You fronting.
It's changed.
Yeah, because
change is hard.
We don't like change, And we're going to be talking about our type of changes because the 7 and the 5 are related, which is kind of cool. But I want to start off with a verse from Scripture, and it's found in the book of Proverbs. For me, Solomon is an epic 5. I think Solomon, hands down, was a 5. Because he was always in his thoughts. He was always willing to dig deeper. And when you read some of his letters and some of his writings, you're like, yeah, that sounds a little like me. So you should read Proverbs. Do you like the book of Proverbs? Have you?
I've read some of, but not the whole thing.
You would love it. You would love it. And you'll see some of the 5-ish within his writings. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that he wrote in Proverbs 4, verse 7, he says, the beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, and whatever you get insight. And I just think that could be like the type 5 mantra. Like whatever you get wisdom. Yeah. Because that's something that you guys try to really, really attain.
Yeah, I lean to it, man. I just I was looking into the 5, right? Because, you know, before I came in here, I had to prepare a little bit. I
little
found
bit,
out
just a
that
little bit?
just a little bit. No, understatement. But, you know, I found out that Einstein was a 5. And that to me was like, oh my God, that's one of my, I look up to this guy. I like this guy. And I'm like, that I could see why I lean to him a lot, because, you know, he's a 5.
Yes.
In a sense, you know, when it comes to curiosity and always looking into things and things like that. So, yeah, I was just...
Is that what you like the most about being a type 5?
What?
Is that curiosity, that need to like dig a little deeper?
I feel like that's one of my strengths, in a sense, you know, when it comes to moving forward in life and helping others as well, being an asset to my crew, because I ask the questions that nobody else really asks, you know, in a sense, you know, when it comes to the personal life, when it comes to how they feel, when it comes to what they're going through, and I help them dig deeper into their personal life in a way. There was a time that I was, one of my old jobs, a coworker of mine, you know, he came up to me, talking to me about his problems, and he's like, I want to share this with you. I want to talk to you about this because you're like a psychiatrist or something. Like, you're like, is that what it is? Somebody that you could talk to and tell you, okay, yeah. Because you help me figure things out. And I'm like, I don't do nothing. All I do is just ask you questions to help you find the answers to the questions that you're asking, you know?
Asking the right questions.
I do my best to do that, you know, and not only for my friends and those around me, but just for myself too. Because sometimes it's good and bad though, you know, for me. Because I lean too far and heavy into the questioning and not the action taking, and that's one of the problems, right?
Wow.
That's one of the.
He's been reading. He's been reading.
Yeah.
Helen Palmer, in her book The Enneagram, she says the reason for discovering your own type is so that you can build a working relationship with yourself. I love this, right? It's kind of mind blowing because. There's so many times that when we come into leadership or we come into trying to influence others, we're trying to be influencers, we're trying to be a blessing in other people's lives, that most of the time our focus is on them. What do they need? What do they want? Right? It's like Jay Shetty says, you know, my perception of I'll get it. I'll get it somewhere during the podcast.
Let's go.
But he talks about how, you know, our realities is not our own perceptions, right? Our realities are the perceptions of the perceptions we have about the perception other people's have about us. And that's kind of how we begin to operate. What do they think? What do they need? What do they need to hear? And a lot of times we're just not real with ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think out of the 9 Enneagram types, the one that's able to get there, I don't want to say the easiest because it's still a journey, but the one that gets there the most, I would say, would be the 5 because of what you just said. Asking yourselves those questions, being willing to dig within yourself. And I think that's a blessing.
That's crazy because if you guys see me looking at my phone, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the conversation at all. It's just because as a 5, I took notes a little bit, and I wanted to make sure that I came here prepared with some of my own thoughts. You know, and it's crazy because you said that because I heard somewhere, I think I probably read it. One of the most important persons you want to study is yourself as a 5, and it's crazy that you said that because they kind of hit home for me. You're right. It is important for us to know our numbers, and I want to emphasize on that primarily because it's like before I started looking into my own Enneagram, there was so many blind spots. You know, I was like a horse with the blinders on. I was just laser focused forward and trying to move forward. But I'm like a horse running in a muddy field.
I love that description.
Where, you know, I couldn't move fast enough. I'm over here stuck and struggling just to move forward. So, you know, looking at the Enneagram helped me realize like, oh, this is why I'm running in a muddy field. You know what I mean? So for me, you know, it helped me realize I was leaning to my 7. I was really leaning to my 7 a lot for a long
Which
period.
is unhealthy for you.
It is unhealthy for me. And it came as a realization as I started listening to it as a 5. I'm like, yeah, I do tend to get stuck sometimes. And sometimes in certain areas where I need to take action, I don't take action. And that to me was so like, wow, you know what I mean? Like I have been stagnant, and that's why I've been so sad. That's why I've been so frustrated and suffering with anxiety even. Because I'm like, I have a lot of things that I'm looking past because I'm so caught up. Just like, I gotta get more information. I need to know exactly what the heck I'm doing or before I even hop onto it. Like, you know what I mean? And I wasn't walking on faith for a very long time.
I really
wasn't.
I appreciate that you're sharing these things, right? Because these are things that people need to hear, but you're rarely going to hear, especially a male being so willing to kind of express his emotional state. You know, we made this very brief list that we took from a big list that we have of some of the characteristics of a 5, and I want to kind of read them off to see if you can relate. It says that 5s have a passion for collecting thoughts, ideas, and knowledge.
Yeah.
5s, it's hard for them to express their ideas at the moment that they have them.
Listen. Go ahead.
I'm gonna keep going. I learned from overseeing or reading as opposed to doing. Yeah. I think thoughts are more reliable than feelings. Yeah. I am very private. I'm a listener first. Conforming is distasteful to me. My security comes from how much I know. I emphasize thinking over doing.
You so much I want to break down there. You just said so much I just want to break down. It's like, and that's why. Listen, I want to go back to the learning and not really sharing part. Like, I struggle with that heavy, and learning about myself made me realize, like, this is why sometimes I like connection with my friends. Like, I'm not that connected with them is because privacy, right? I like to keep my life personal. I don't like to really go out there and tell people what I do every other day. I don't like to go out there and tell people like all of my exciting news. I keep that to myself because I feel like that's me, you know, like this is my moment. It's not that nobody really cares, but you know, they all got their own lives. To me, it's like my life is my life. But is that something you tell yourself? Something I tell myself.
To protect yourself, right?
Yes. It really is.
Also, like, I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about how 5s feel if they share that information, for example, they feel like they'll be depleted. Like, their resources are now gone. Yeah. So they don't like that feeling of being depleted.
That's key. That's definitely key. Another thing with that is it's hard for us. It's hard for, I can say us, but my personal, it's a personal, it's myself. It's hard for me to express what I learned. You know, I know this, I know that, but for me to put it into words, I just don't know how to. And people ask me, I'm like, I just don't know how to express this. I know how to do it. I know how to act on it. But for me to put it into words, sometimes it's difficult. And it's listening, you know, and reading things about my number, I'm realizing that this is probably why I have such a hard time connecting with some of my friends, or some of my friends I'm unpredictable to, you know, because they can't predict, you know, what I'm capable of doing and what I'm not, you know, what I'm willing to do and what I'm not, because
they can't read your mind.
They can't read me. I make it difficult for people to read. And for me, that's like safety, though. I don't want nobody to know. I don't want nobody to know what I'm capable of doing and what I'm not. That you or I just be good out there. It's like I noticed that us as 5s, we like to build this little castle for us to live in. You know what I mean?
Sorry.
The reason she's hitting me because we read a quote today that 5s are like a constructed castle with his walls very high, and at the top has little windows for you to see in, but it's at the very top of that tower.
Key. Wow. Windows.
So when you said castle, I was like,
we were just talking about that.
Windows though, key on the windows, because you can look through the window, you can put your hands and just look, but you can't go in there though, because if you go in there, I'm uncomfortable now. You know too much. You're getting too personal. You're getting too close in my space. I don't like that because I'm too vulnerable. As a 5, I don't like to be vulnerable. I don't like nobody knowing my personal life. I don't like for you to have that kind of control over me. In a sense, like, if you know what triggers me, you are able to pull it whenever you feel like, type thing. I don't like those. So good. And that's it. But it's, but it's good for me to know, because I didn't know that until I started looking into this. But at the same time, it's kind of toxic, you know, because it's like, I'm not taking risks in life. I'm not allowing people in my life. You know, I'm keeping people out of my life. So how helpful is that for me to have this big castle for me to live in, but I'm by myself in it?
That's crazy. And again, I love that you're sharing this stuff, because I hope there's people out there listening to this, hearing this, and that they're saying like, wow, like I'm not the only one. Yeah. You know, that's the key thing for people to understand. You're not the only one. You're not the only one with these battles. You're not the only one with these struggles, these questions, this feeling, sometimes this anxiety and things of that nature. And, you know, one of the things that we need to, that I want the audience to know, and I want you to know, is that, you know, having this awareness is that first step.
Yeah.
You know, and I truly believe that God has allowed you, and maybe people in our audience, as they hear this, to get that awareness so that you can begin working towards growth, right?
Yeah.
Because your direction towards growth is the 8, which is a person of action, which is a person that makes moves, a person that also struggles with vulnerability, but their strength is found in that vulnerability, right? And that's someplace that, I mean, I'm sure you want to get to, because, I mean, I can only imagine it's hard to have a relationship with a significant other.
It is. It's been hard for me to build that.
Have you,
know?
what ways have you seen your 5-ness kind of infiltrate that realm of your life?
Relationships, well, yeah. Besides friendship and family and stuff
Besides
like that,
that.
outside of that, yeah, it has influenced it tremendously, because as of late though, as I started finding out my number, I've been able to, be more open, be more expressive, and be more detailed about what I'm looking for, as well as asking them questions as to what the other person is looking for, because I wasn't doing that before. Like I said, I was very, and I still am, because it's a process, but very secluded, very into myself. I don't want to. I don't like giving people my weaknesses. My weaknesses is something that I'm even ashamed of myself. I get in a way, to express, like, I'm lacking this, I'm lacking that. Like, who wants to share that in the first place, right? Like, I like this, I like that. But at the same time, it's important for you to tell that and express that in a way, and be yourself. It was hard for me to be myself, because I was trying to put this, I was trying to show, like, a warrior's shield and his sword, says a lot about him. If you have a shield with all these details, like, I'm just showing you my shield. That's all you see. You don't see the warrior behind it. You know what I mean? I just want everybody, like who I'm looking into seeing as my significant other, to see my shield, see how shiny this is, see how shiny my sword is. I could protect you, could defend you, could do this, but don't look at the warrior itself. And that's something that I was.
Don't look behind the armor.
Yeah, don't. Hey, that's something way better than the shield, actually. Let's go with that. Everybody just relates the whole shield thing. The whole
really
armor.
good.
Elegant armor. Don't look past that. Just don't look at the warrior itself, because the warrior itself inside, has its flaws, and I didn't want to share that. But now I'm learning little by little to take my helmet off, take my gloves off, take my my whole everything off, little by little. And
I read somewhere that with the type 5s, like, the way they compartmentalize everything, like their friends, their college friends, their work friends, their relation, everything is compartmentalized.
Yep.
So when that one person needs a little piece of information, you go into, like, your compartmentalized brain and just give them that one piece, that one file.
Yeah.
You don't give them, like, the whole folder. You just give them that one piece of paper that they need.
Yeah.
So,
That's
like,
facts. That's facts. I do that. I have different circles of friends. This circle of friends is my circle of friends. My work circle of friends, that's a different circle. I have another circle of friends that I'm like, I don't bring, and that's another thing that it's crazy, because I was looking into that.
You don't bring the worlds together.
I don't bring them together, and that's a problem, because they could benefit so much from each other.
That's so
But
good.
me, I'm the link that doesn't bother to connect them, because I'm still trying to figure that out, honestly.
But you're still a link, and that's the important thing. Like one of the things the reason that I'm cutting in and coming in with this energy is because, like, I don't want anyone to beat themselves up, right?
Yeah.
Because you're a link, not the full chain.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, and I've had those struggles where, as a 7, I come into a party and I literally have to tell myself, you're not the host of this party. You were just invited to it. Because I'll come into a party.
No, because this one time, like, we were at a gathering, and he's, like, greeting people that are coming into the and I'm like, babe, they've been here for an hour. They've already said hi to us, and you're like, hey, how are you? I'm like.
But it's part of the 7 characteristic, right? Where you want to be the
like,
life of the
we've
party.
already said
You want to
hi.
connect with everybody, and you want to bring more energy to the energy that's already there, because that's how I am, right? So I begin telling myself, like, you're not the host of this party. You're a part of it.
Yeah.
What if we use that same theory to life? You're not all of everyone's life or supposed to be that. You're just a part of it. And when we accept that and embrace that, just like with cause and effect, you're a part of cause and effect. And you're a 5, Fernando's a 6, he's a 4. If we put all of Uncommon Digital Media together, like, we got a 7, an 8, a 3, a 4, a 6, a 1. Like we got all these people that are involved that are all these different characteristics and types and personalities and strengths and weaknesses. But it's when we put all that together that it becomes something special.
Yeah, it's really about like that perspective. Like you're a part of a link, but you're a big part of that link.
Yes.
Like it's not just like this little tiny piece that like we could do without. You know, like when you have a necklace or a bracelet and one of the little end links breaks off and you're like, well, I could just tie it to the next one. That's not like what you are. You're like a big part. That link breaks off and we have to go repair the whole necklace.
I appreciate that. Honestly, like hearing that kind of stuff, like I'm not used to getting compliments like that or feeling that important. I think that's probably one of the main reasons as to why I rely so much on information.
But the reason you're getting that,
yeah,
and I want to bring this to you and to all the fives out there, the reason you're hearing that right now is because you opened yourself up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's hard for other people to invest in your life and pour into your life when your cup is, the lid is still on it.
It's scary to let go of that lid.
Oh, I could only imagine. I could only imagine.
Like I want to share something might divert us a little bit off the topic. We could bring it back, but you're good at bringing things back, so I'm gonna leave that up to you. But you know, I learning about myself as a 5 and learning about, you know, like my habits in a sense when it comes to research. And you know, I'm always into researching. When it came to religion, let's say for example, and spiritual beliefs, right? I started off with, I say this all the time, like those who are real original fans of BYOB, you know, I was one of the original guys in the crew. And I said this before, I didn't know the difference between baby Christ and Jesus. I thought it was two different people. So, you know, I started, as soon as I got older and I was more curious, I started learning more about him. And I started getting more familiar. And as I started getting more familiar, I was curious about other beliefs. And I was like, what is this? What is that? What is this? And I started just like branching off to Buddhism, Muslims, and all of this, and just learning about all of this stuff. And I'm like, this is cool. All right, great. I'm quote unquote spiritual now, you know. Like I know all of this. I'm fed with all of this. This is enough for me. And then as soon as I started learning about my number and what my tendencies are, and I started doing more research and other stuff as well, I started realizing like, cool, I know all of this stuff, but who's really my sensei, let's say, right? Who's really my master? Who's really somebody that I could follow? Because it's cool for me to know all of these teachers, but who am I gravitating to? Who am I sticking to? I was sticking to nobody. I thought I was sticking to Christ because Christianity is something that I really like, you know, is fundamental for me. I like Christianity primarily, you know what I mean? Because it's my foundation when it came to learning. I even got baptized and everything, you know. When it came to learning about this stuff, Christianity was my main source. But as soon as I got curious about others, my tendencies went into let me research everything else, you know, and then bam,
collecting thoughts,
collecting thoughts and opinions and other people's perspectives. And then I came to a point, I started learning about the 5s, and all of this became an epiphany to me. And I'm like, yo, I don't have no master. I don't have nobody to really like, that I'm really like laser focused. Like this is the one that I'm gonna follow, you know. And that was a problem because my whole ritual was messed up in a sense because I didn't have nobody. I had no guidance. That's what I was looking for. Guidance. I was lacking spiritual guidance. I didn't have that. And that's why that played a factor in me being so messed up for so long because I didn't have no I wouldn't say ritual. I would say I guess ritual. You know, like morning you wake up, you do this, you do that, you start off your day right. A routine. You know, that sounds way better in a sense, right? And I was messing up, and then I'm like, okay, I know a little bit about everybody, but I don't know enough about somebody. It's like being a jack of all trades, but being an expert in none. And I'm like, what am I doing here? Who do I really want to follow? I want to follow Jesus. You know, who I really want to be with. I want to be with Jesus because that's the guy that I actually believe in. That's the guy that I actually know enough of. And I seen the facts, bro. Not only in the Bible, but there is a history behind it. You know, there's proof behind it. There's so much behind Christ. Why am I not following him? Yo, jump. Great intersection. but
That's so good.
But in my mind, I'm like, yo, why am I over here just getting so distracted and so like no disrespect to neighbor. This is BYOB, bring your own Bible, bring your own beliefs. But at the same time, no disrespect to none of that. But at the same time, you gotta. It's good for you to be well-rounded, but like, who is your master? Yes. And I'm not talking about your master, like the person who whips your back, or your master, the ones who teach you, who guides you through life. You know, the one who pretty much your spiritual guidance. You know, who's that? You know, I didn't have that. So for me, like, knowing my number and realizing my traits and knowing that this is what I do, I'm like, no. I gotta, it's great that I gotta stick to one thing here. I gotta narrow it down.
And it's so good because
you know what I mean?
his sharing, and thank you for sharing your journey, because it shows how in moments of insecurity or stress or confusion, you become a 7 in a sense, where a 7, that when you want to talk about a cliche that measures a 7 is a jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah. Because we find our enjoyment in abundance. Yeah. The more we have, the happier we are. Yeah. So when you're talking about the faiths and things like that, you know, I'm reminded of a verse that has been helping me as a 7 to kind of do the same thing, to hone down on a particular set of learning that I'm going through. And it's when Jesus says, narrow is the road that leads to life, but broad is the road that leads to destruction.
I'm done, yo.
And I'm, so when Jesus says stuff like this, it makes me feel what you're saying. You know, it reminded me of that, and I'm like, wow, like humanity, when we think about humankind, when we think about our circles, like the circles that we're in for a reason, right? The reason we're in this room today is because it's like God he's the teacher and we're in school. Yeah. And we're talking, but he's like, hear what Raffi's saying, because that's the battle that you have sometimes.
It really is, man.
For me, it's normal though. For you, it's sporadic. For me, it's normal. Like, that's my daily. That's my daily grind. Because I'm a 7, you know, I'm just jumping. I'm excited. I got all this energy. I got to do something.
Got to do something. I got to let it out.
But with you find your strength in focus and zeroing in. You know, so I could only imagine the revelations that you're about to have, and stay in that word, man, because God is going to reveal himself to you in a very crazy way.
I'm looking forward to it.
And write those thoughts down and share them with me, because I'm going to need them.
Yeah, no.
I might give you credit. I might not. I don't know.
Hey, man, listen, as long as it's out there, I don't need the credit. And that's another thing about 5. Like, we don't care about being behind the scenes. As long as the message gets across and everything gets put out there, that's all that matters to me as a person as well. So when it comes to, like, you know, this, I want to talk to you 2 more, because I want to get, I need to, like you said, laser focus in that route. I want to be more closer to Christ in a sense. You know, I want to. You can't be
closer to him than you already are. Let me just throw that out there. He lives in you. He walks in you. Amen. He dwells within you. And the Bible says he's, you know, that he's there. He never leaves you, never forsakes you. He's indwelling you. He's there when you wake up. He's there when you go to sleep. He's there when you breathe. He's there when you fart. He's always there. Like, he's just always there.
No, and I feel like he just let me roam. Like, and I feel like this was the fart part.
I know, because I feel like Jesus didn't fart.
Hey, wow. Listen.
Yeah. If he did, it smelled like flowers.
Yeah, I believe that. That part, I believe that.
It's potpourri.
But I feel like he just let me roam. He was like, yo, you do what you gotta do. I know you're gonna come back, and then I did, and I'm here, you know, and I'm here to take his blessings and take his teachings and take his guidance, man, because I need that guidance for me to better my life, not only my life, but those around me, because I haven't been doing justice, and he knows that, and I know that, and he's happy that I believe in my heart. I feel like he's happy that I know that. Yeah, so man, from here on out, I'm gonna just devote my life to learning more about his path, because I like the way he lived his life, man. The way he lived his life and the impact he made.
And he was radical, man.
Like, bruh.
And you can see when you read about Jesus and you get into one of these gospels, maybe John, I don't know which one you're drawn to. Yeah. But what you're gonna see is that Jesus was an introvert as well. Like, there was a whole lot of introverts. That's why I like.
No, I know that. That's why I liked him so much, because he's so chilled and he just few words. Bam! I'm like, bruh. That's all you have to say. Everybody just shuts off.
Because like, 5s are like, they only need a few words.
That's all I need, man. And that's why I gravitate so heavy.
Don't give them so many words. It's just a couple to get to the point, and that's
because
it.
We'll lose you if I'm talking, but I'm not saying nothing. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that have a lot of words, but they're really not saying nothing. You know, you're turned off and you're gone. You're here, And you're looking at me, your eyes are moving, but your mind is in Wazoo,
I'm
like
thinking,
you're
I went to
somewhere
Twitter.
else.
I love that. When I was reading about the 5, the one story that came to me was Jesus and the woman at the well.
Ooh.
Because 5s have, the tendency to get all these resources, and they're, I don't want to say stingy with letting go of the resources, but they hold on to it for survival, because they feel like it's necessary to survive.
It's not that we don't want to give;
Right.
it's just how we. It's just like we feel like this. We need this to survive.
Exactly.
This gives us an identity.
Yeah, it's not like I'm.
Makes you feel safe.
Exactly.
It makes me feel like somebody, like I contribute somehow in the group.
So when I'm thinking about like those hoarding knowledge tendencies, thinking about like Jesus and the woman and the well. And it says in John 4:14, and I really like the Passion Translation on that one. I'm going to read it to you guys. It says, "But if anyone drinks the living water I give them, they will never thirst again and will be forever satisfied. For when you drink the water I give you, it becomes a gushing fountain of the Holy Spirit, springing up and flooding you with endless life." Like when you think about that picture of like endless gushing of resources that Jesus gives, like I don't know about you, Raffi, but for me it feels like I'm replenished. Like I have all the resources I need, and I can give it out because he just will pour back into me. So it's for me, like that's what I picture when I was reading the 5. I was like, man, like Jesus will replenish all of your resources.
And I like a quote that you have that you gotta hear this, Raffi, from a book that she's reading. I haven't even read this book.
It from me?
Yes. And it's from the book The Honest Enneagram by, how would you even say her first name, babe?
Sarah Jane Case.
Sarah Jane Case. That's a dope name. She says, you are not a cup of water that once consumed is empty forever. You are a water tap that can turn on and pour out effortlessly and turn off intentionally. You do not have to hide yourself away and close people off to protect your resources. You have other options.
Like that perception of like, you're not the cup, you're actually the water tap. Like when we think about like you're not the cup that's gonna empty out and you're gonna have nothing left. You're actually the water tap, so they could turn it off and you could turn it on.
I like that, because that's one of my fears sometimes. What I mean, pouring out and then pouring out so much that I'm empty.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm the cup, but I don't think that
you're
I'm
the water tap.
Hey, it makes sense
so
too, because
good.
I'm always like we said, like the 5 is a learner, is a searcher, is a discoverer in a sense too, So,
and there's these core feelings, these core emotions, these core longings, these core things that have to do with every single number. We've dealt with the 1, the 2, the 3. No, we're not the 3 just yet, but the 4. Today we're doing, in this episode we're doing the 5. You're gonna hear about the 6, the 7s. We got all these episodes coming. The core fear of the 5, however, is being thought incapable or ignorant.
Oh my God, yo, thank you. Listen, no, I got that somewhere over here. I was gonna, listen, because you guys are going where I have my notes. I'm over here like, you're going back and forth. I'm trying to go back and forth. No, that is facts. Like I said, that's why we like to hoard information. I like to hoard information sometimes, and it's difficult, not because I want to. Okay, I can't say I like to hoard information. It's difficult for me to express information. And sometimes I intentionally, I guess, I hoard it in because I like to feel useful. I don't want to feel useless to the group, because then if I'm useful to the group, then what value do I bring in? And I suffer with that sometimes, because I just feel like, that's one of my stressors, and I think I probably mentioned this to Chico before, where I told him, like, I don't know what I bring to the table. Before I even started being the cameraman behind the camera, I didn't know what I brought to the table. I'm like, yeah, I'm talking here, but like, I don't know what I bring. I don't know what to bring. And that was so stressful to me, because if I'm somewhere, I like to bring something, whether it's joy, whether it's a feeling, or whether it's something that's something that you could like reap from, physically. So it's like, if I can't contribute in one way or another, I feel useless, and that makes me feel so stressed and frustrated.
I got something for you, and for all the 5s that are hearing us right now. And it's something that Jesus said in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 7. He says, "Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure that you use, it will be measured back to you."
I need that.
So you know, just meditate on that scripture, and for the fives out there, think about these things, right? When you're encountering these battles, encountering these wrestling matches with yourself, I think it just goes perfectly with what you said about the water tap. Like you're not a cup, you're the water tap. Like you're gonna keep producing. You're gonna, as you give, more is given to you. And as just like when you opened yourself, and I was able to kind of sneak in a little word in there into your 5 defenses, into that 5 armor, you know, that's what God is gonna do, because that's the thing that we don't realize, and this is important for you 5s to understand, that when you close yourself off to people, inadvertently you close yourself up to God.
Repeat that.
When we close ourselves up and protect ourselves from people, that armor doesn't come off when we go in the presence of God. We take it with us. So inadvertently, you know, without even thinking about it, we end up closing ourselves off to God too.
Yeah.
You know,
That's true. That was me.
But when we lay them down, you know, when you lay it down and when you begin to peak, you know, at God's pace, because he's gonna, you know, mold us according to his image in his own way, you know, some great things begin to happen in the life of 5, you know?
You're 100% right. Have not really to add to that. I mean, yeah, you're right. But it's just so difficult to do, man. It's so difficult to do for us as 5s, you know, to just pour out and give. But I've gotten glimpse of that, though.
So
I've gotten plenty of glimpses of that. And it feels good. I feel happy. I feel fulfilled when I have a purpose, when I'm, you know, lately I have been narrowing down my decisions instead of looking in, because what stresses us out is, you know, we make a decision, we there, but then like we're still wondering, like, well, what if I would have done this though? Let me look into this though. Maybe if I would have done this instead, and then that stresses us out. It makes us question the decision that we already made,
right?
Because we're not sure now, because we're like, all right, let me see what else is out there. And it's like, yo, that's how 5s and anybody else out there, period, who, whatever. If you make a decision, stick to it, especially if he's benefiting you right there and then. Because us 5, if you're 5, you know what I'm talking about. We suffer from this stuff. We make a decision, but sometimes we want to backpedal. But it's like, yo, if you know this is the right decision and it's benefiting you so far, don't backpedal. Just keep moving forward with it. And that's what I'm doing right now, because I've made decisions where I feel like he's good, but then it's like, but is anything better? And it's like, forget about better. What the heck you make? What you doing right now better?
You want to keep looking for information.
Exactly, man. That's
like
my problem.
It's just like it's not enough information.
It's not enough. I'm like, yo, yeah, that key.
Yeah. And one of the things I love about the Enneagram is that there's always room for growth. Like there's always room for you to be a better version of yourself. I think that's amazing. It's one of the things I read about growth for a 5 is to have like these abundance practices. That's what they call it, and it's from that book, the honest Enneagram, from Sarah Jane Case. It's like my new book right now of the month. I love that book.
It'll be in the description, guys. If you want to order this book, we put all the Amazon links on the description.
Because she gives a really good example of that, of a abundance practice. Is basically just like looking around for things that are in abundance. Like if you go to a park, start counting how many leaves you see on that tree. Ooh. If you go at night, you go for a walk, count to see how many stars you can see. It helps you not be so boundly tight to your resources. It aids you in that sense. Like if you see all the abundance around you, it'll make you feel a little bit better. I was like, I'm gonna start doing that, because sometimes I feel like that too. Like I don't realize how much there is in this world, like how many natural resources.
Yeah.
Like
we narrow things down too much.
Yeah, sometimes we just walk by this whole bed of flowers and we don't even realize, oh my gosh, look at all the different types of flowers.
And when if I share something real quick, like you know, it's a little relevant today. I wrote an exclamation point. I had to change. As a 5, I had to lean to a 6 to be more expressive and express more gratitude. Be given of gestures, because I'm disconnected from custom norm when it comes to stuff like that. To be more cautious of others and be more selfless. Because I won't say I'm selfish, but I always feel like I didn't give it enough, or how to respond to certain things. Like I didn't give enough, or I didn't know how to respond to certain things. So that's another reason why I do a lot of research too, because as a 6 is more expressive. Me, I had to learn to be that and learn how to express things properly, because sometimes I could say things a little bit out of line. Because it's not that I'm emotionless. That's another thing they say about the 5. Sometimes we could be not emotionless, but sometimes we could be harsh. Me as a 5, I could be a little harsh with the things that I say and how I say it. So I had to learn how to express myself properly in a way that, it's complimenting, because that's how I'm that's my intentions behind the words that I'm saying. Like if I say like, I don't know, I can't come up with anything on the top of the head, but if I say something to you and you take it offensively, you might take it offensively, but in my head, I'm like, that's a compliment.
I have to interject here because there's this really good quote. You see why I loved it? Anyways, this is a really good quote. It's from the same book, The Honest Enneagram. It says, there isn't a lack of emotion, rather it's a hidden emotion. A belief that their sensitivities can not only be reasoned through, they can also be dealt with on their own. So it's not so much like what you said, like it may sound offensive to someone and you don't see it that way. It's just the sensitivities will deal on its own. Like you don't have to like go through with those sensitivities and actually deal with them. They'll just deal with them on their own.
I like that. That's so comforting, honestly. Because but that's that, because that's why sometimes I struggle with expressing myself, because I rather not say anything because I don't know how you're gonna take it.
It's a hidden emotion.
So good. But I like that you delved into the wings, right? If you don't know about wings and you're trying to think, well, what the heck are wings? Go to the What is the Enneagram episode. It's there in our videos.
It's in English and in Spanish.
Just in case. But babe, can you talk a little bit about the wings?
So for you, Raffi, particularly, it's 5 wing 4 and then 5 wing 6. So it's the number before and after the main type number. And a 5 wing 4, they're more introspective and creative, allowing you to be more inventive and whimsical. And a 5 wing 6 is more detail oriented and more organized. And those are just your wings just pretty much round out your type. And I couldn't figure out where you were. I feel like you were a little bit of both. Do you know like where you lean towards?
I lean towards the 6 more.
5 or 6,
But I guess periodically it depends where I'm at. Because
I've seen you creative.
Yeah,
too,
I looked at some, like I look back and I'm like, I lean towards the 4 as well. I had something reading about the 4 too, and
guys,
I'm like, I've leaned there before
this whole setup
as well.
is a lot of it is this man right here.
Yes.
Thank you.
This creativity is.
Stop it! You're making me blush, man. I first said about the 4 here. I said I also had to lean on my 4 when it comes to caring about beauty and being caring and creative and in touch with my true self. Things that 4 intuitively know and lean on. Me as a 5, I could benefit from. So creativity. That's something that I also like. I wrote that down because I'm like, it's so true. Good. I lean that sometimes, but sporadically, like now, like consistently. Like sometimes I lean into my 4, but I primarily lean into my 6.
Also, this man did our wedding video.
Stop.
Talk about creativity. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like Raffi's a little bit of both. Like I could have like he's a rounded out type
and
5.
that's why like I've come to admire the 5, not only because that's my growth number. For a 7 who's an enthusiast, who's the adventurer, who likes to seek out new experiences, it's helpful for a 7 to go towards a 5 and be able to lean in and be able to dig deeper and be able to go more profoundly into things instead of jumping from thing to thing to thing. So the Enneagram is interesting because where a 5 is my growth number, the 7 is your stress number. It's where you don't want to go. I want to go to a 5 and you don't want to go to a 7. And it just shows how we all need one another. We all need to get to know one another. We all need to develop relationship. Why? Because it's going to help you grow. It's going to help you see life from a different perspective, right? And, we wrote down some things because we want to be able to equip the 5s out there and to maybe possibly help you, Raffi. Different ways that 5s can help themselves, right? Noting the desire to withhold when others expect a response. Like noting that. Why am I withholding, right? Noting when emotions are replaced by analysis.
Happens a lot with me.
And but noting it, right? Maybe going home and remembering that incident, writing it down. Why did I withhold? Why did I withhold? And deal with those questions. Noting when realizing that access to feeling doesn't always equal being heard. Remind yourself of that. Let yourself be seen. Let yourself be seen. Let the warrior take off his armor once in a while.
Open up that window just a little bit more.
Learn to tolerate others' needs and emotions. Doesn't mean accept them, just tolerate them.
Yeah.
Compassion. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Empathy.
And you know, allow feelings to rise, experience them, then let go. Try to share others' feelings. Try being vulnerable. You don't have the answers for everything, and everything doesn't make. But if you don't have the answers to everything, it doesn't make you less. Splurge on yourself a little. Take yoga or something to connect with your body. And Anna talked
That's
about
crazy.
this. Create an abundance practice,
That's
right? Which is what she was talking about. One of the things that you did that I also saw in my notes reading about the 5 is taking trips to connect with nature, to connect with things around you. And you do that by practice at this point. And, you know, it's something that 5s need. You need to be able to connect with things around you.
Yeah,
Is there anything that I missed?
You nailed it. You were saying all
If
that.
we did, please let us know.
Hey,
In the comment section.
you saying all that made me realize that. That's why I started taking salsa classes. I started doing like
Hey.
boxing because I'm like, you know, things to treat myself because it makes me feel good.
We
Like,
gotta
makes me feel
take our
good.
salsa classes back again.
I know.
Hey man, dun,
Those are fun.
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
I gotta get in the rhythm.
We hope that you enjoyed tonight's episode. We
Yes.
hope that this piques your interest, right? If you are a 5, if you're not a 5, but you're like, man, like I want to get to know myself. I knew I was going to do it at some point,
Yeah.
right? Like I want to get to know myself as good as this young man knows himself. I want to be able to dig deeper. I want to be able to see myself fully as I am fully known, right? The Apostle Paul had this prayer before God where he said that I might know him even as I am known. Right. And this is that search, is that pull, is that release, is that push, is that connecting with God that allows us to get to that place. Raffi, if there's anything that you can use as a source of encouragement for our listeners, right, as a 5 or just as a human being, like why should they be curious about the Enneagram? Like, well, what is it about the Enneagram that has blessed you and maybe could bless them?
Well, for starters, it got me closer to Jesus. You know, like it got me more focused on Him than I ever been before. Because, like I said, as a 5, you want to know everything. You want to just branch off, and that's one thing. So if you need a little more closure in your beliefs, as a 5, you get to know yourself so much better. I feel like I understood why I did the things that I did. Things that I never, like, I'm like, this is why I do this. This is why I do that. And these are the consequences of the things that I'm doing. And I didn't know that because I was so blinded and so caught up in my own little world that I didn't bother to, you know, look outside of myself in that sense and look at who I am really. And you know, so it's like, I encourage you so much. Look into your number. Please do so and study yourself. If you're a 4, if you're a 5, if you're a 1, if you're a 3, whatever number you are, learn it and figure out the pros and cons and try to lean more into what benefits you. You know what I mean? If you feel like, okay, this is unhealthy for me, I'm leaning more to whatever number you like. Me as a 5, I'm not supposed to lean into Jose's number, you know.
Stay away.
And I was leaning heavy when I started looking into this. I was leaning heavy into a 7, and I'm like, oh no, this is not good for me. I'm stressed out. I had anxiety problems, and as soon as I figured that out, I started working on them problems, and I got better, and I feel good today, and I feel more focused, and I feel more I guess
Clarity.
I got more clarity. I have a road to follow now, because before I had so many turns I could have made. I'm like, I could turn this way, I could turn that way, I could go straight, I could do. But now I know where I want to go. Now I know that this is the direction towards the destination that I'm trying to get to. Was really benefiting for me. So I so much suggest for you guys to figure out, not to figure out, but like learn your number, and then go from there, man, because there's only growth. Only growth could come from that. After you figure out your number, growth is the next step after that.
I love that.
So-
I love that. Baby, is there anything you want to share?
No, I think we got it.
Thank you, guys. Please, if this has been a blessing to your life, the way that you can help us, I have people like, what can we do? Like, is there anything? Share it with your friends. Share
Yes.
it with
Yeah.
your people. Push this forward. Let people know what you're learning. Let people know how it helped you. Let people know how it got you thinking. Go into the introduction. get some of these books, get some of these resources. The link for the test to get to know your number is also under the introduction part of the YouTube video. And lastly, but definitely subscribe,
Please.
so you'll know when the new ones are out. We're going to be throwing little episodes midweek here and there as well. And we're just building up this huge library of content to hopefully be a blessing to people, to help us love one another better, to help us know one another better, and to hopefully help us continue on this road towards growth.
And leave a comment.
Oh,
Don't
I was going to
forget.
say, see you next.
No, leave a comment. Let us know if you liked it. Let us know if you didn't like it.
We do improvements. We take suggestions.
Suggestions,
We
opinions,
take all that good stuff, yeah.
comments,
Things
like,
we
let
should
us
talk
know-
about that we haven't talked
stuff
about
that
yet.
you want to hear. If you want to get like another perspective on a 5, a female perspective, we'll go out and find one. If you're it, let us know.
And if you're into our t-shirts, this is the
Hey.
Cultura brand. We'll
This-
put the link up
This
in the
was-
description
this
as well.
wasn't even like on purpose.
wasn't planned.
It wasn't even planned. We just
This is just how we roll.
It's how we do.
Right.
God bless you guys. We love y'all. Tune in next week. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Bye, guys.